Let's take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, President Bola Tinubu has again intervened to halt the escalating feud between Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor and estranged godfather, Nyesom Wike. The peace deal came after months of failed settlements that had pushed the state to the brink of governorship impeachment, legislative paralysis, and prolonged instability. The president had previously intervened in the rift between Fubara and Wike in December 2023 when he brokered a fragile peace which broke down soon after, leading the declaration of a 6-month emergency rule in the state on March 18, 2025 by Tinubu and suspension of the governor. However, in the fresh push to defuse one of the country's most combustible political disagreements in recent times, Tinubu ordered an immediate suspension of any impeachment moves against Fubara, but with very strict conditions. Tinubu's intervention came with a blunt message to Fubara. Wike remains the undisputed political leader of the party, whether APC or People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Rivers State, and he must be respected in that regard. Tinubu was said to have clearly told Wike to back off any impeachment plots against Fubara and allow governance in the state. In other news, African Democratic Congress, ADC, said the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, had initiated needless, vicious policies under President Bola Tinubu, which had exposed Nigerians to untold hardship and poverty. National chairman of ADC and former Senate President, Senator David Mark, made the allegation yesterday in Abuja. Mark regretted that while the APC government continued to aggravate citizens' tax burdens, insecurity relentlessly disrupted their social and economic lives. Mark spoke while inaugurating a 50-member policy and manifesto committee for ADC at its headquarters in Abuja. The ADC national chairman made it clear that a country that could not secure its people will not be able to grow the economy, no matter how impressive its plans appeared on paper. Moving on, the federal government has arraigned 9 suspects in Abuja over the June 2025 massacre in Yelwata community, Benue State, where at least 150 people were killed. Arise correspondent Godfrey Eshemoge reports.
Following the Yelwata massacre of June 13, 2025, President Bola Tinubu visited Benue State and directed security agencies to ensure the arrest and prosecution of those responsible.
How come no arrest has been made? I expect there should be arrests of those criminals.
Security agencies say they have acted on the president's directive, arresting a number of suspects who are now facing trial. The 9 defendants, including Ardo Lawal Muhammad Dono, Mohammed Saidu, Alhaji Haruna Abdullahi, Yakubu Adamu, and others, were arraigned on 57-count amended charge under the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. The prosecution, led by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, alleges the suspect conspired to recruit, finance, and arm Fulani youths drawn from Nasarawa, Kwara, Taraba, and other areas to carry out the attack. They are accused of aiding terrorism, procuring prohibited firearms, and instigating the coordinated assault on the farming community, during which homes were razed and residents killed. Other counts include unlawful possession of firearms. All 9 defendants pleaded not guilty when the charges were read in open court. Justice Joyce Abdul Malik also struck out the name of one defendant from the original list of 10, following an application by the Attorney General.
54 charges, that means 54 accusations. Anybody can make an accusation. But the important thing is you have the onus of proof beyond reasonable doubt. I can say you did this, you stole this, you did that, but you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. So we're not concerned about the number of charges. Let us get to the issue of proof. If you can prove beyond reasonable doubt. So we're not worried with the number of charges.
The court has remanded the suspects at the Kuje Correctional Center and adjourned proceedings to February 26th and 27th for commencement of trial. Godfrey Eshemoge, Arise News.
IPOB Monday sit-at-home order in Anambra is being described as a sign that the state is taking back control and pushing for economic growth. Governor Chukwuma Soludo made this known when he led other top government officials to reopen the Onitsha main market. Correspondent Emeka Monye reports.
7 days after, the Onitsha main market has been reopened. The governor says his visit to the market is a practical declaration that the state is open to business. Governor Soludo, while addressing the traders, said he would be doing his Monday shoppings at the main market.
This is the first Monday that main market will be open in more than 5 years. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I have come to witness it. I have come to shop at main market today. And because main market is open today, Anambra is open again on Monday. Yes,
the Onitsha main market is a key commercial hub in the southeast, serving as a gateway to the region and one of West Africa's largest markets. But for a week, it remained under lock and key. Its closure led to a stakeholders meeting with the state government last week in Oka, where they discussed terms and conditions before its reopening could be considered. Traders said they had no choice but to comply due to security concerns, citing attacks by non-state actors, even as they expressed happiness of getting back to business.
I feel so excited for returning inside the main market today. But what I want is for customers to continue coming so that we will start selling, buying and selling to make money.
7 days at home is not something to write home about. Because whether you like it or not, you must spend. And when the income is not coming in and you are spending, you will see that you are running deficit.
Some of them also expressed concern about security, asking that the state government beef up security to secure their property and businesses.
The state government pronouncement is more like a corrective measure to remind our people that this is not what we are known for. As of security, security has always been very stable. From what you saw last December, you see that we experienced a whole lot of influx of people coming from all different places in Anambra to enjoy their Christmas. With this, you can say that there is security here in Anambra.
It's going to be a collaborative effort, not just on the government side. It's going to be a collaborative effort from the traders, the population, the populace, the citizens, to make sure that we sustain this. This is our livelihood. I mean, sitting at home, you know how much you miss in a day? You miss a lot of money.
The show then followed IPOB's Monday sit-at-home directive, an order which had been on since 2021. Emeka Monye, Arise News, Onitsha.
All right, okay. So another Monday in Onitsha, Anambra State, and now we see that the government is leading in front this end to the sit-at-home that's cost the state so many years. But Rufi, I didn't know that you could actually be a member of two parties, as with the case of Wiki in the first story. But let's have your take on these stories.
Okay. As regards Onitsha, please, Governor Soludo, provide security. As long as we provide security, I want people to go back to their business, but the grouse has always been the level of insecurity. It's just that it's not that people just started saying they're not going to go to markets on Monday. It's because people were attacked. So please provide security. Let's ensure people return to their livelihoods. As regards Wiki, the truth is, yes, President Tinubu has said he's the Lord and overseer over the two political parties in the state. So the question is, what political party is he as we speak? A member of the PDP? Okay, a faction of the PDP? Because the Turaki faction has also gone back to court after they nullified the Ibadan Convention. Anyway, the Turaki faction is saying they're going to appeal it. Wiki faction saying they're going to go ahead with Congresses. I think that's what I heard. As regards the fight between Fubara and Wiki, I'm not surprised. You see, what President Tinubu is just going to do is he's just going to hit their heads on each other as long as he gets to win Rivers in the next election and they can go and sort out themselves. You saw that when they talked about the future of Fubara with his second term, he said the matter is premature. Really? So your own aspiration as president is more important. We can leave Fubara to the slaughter slab, it's premature. But in the same vein, This is the same people, I think it was Vice President Shetima that was saying in another state that the governor is the leader of the party, isn't it?
Yes.
He was quoted to have said that.
Yes.
But in Rivers State, the case is different. So you can see that this is a lack of principle. This is just about what they can gain politically. If the governor is supposed to be the leader of the party in every other state, why is it that in the state of Rivers, the case is different? Okay, take for example, Caleb Mufwang. Yewata is the chairman of APC. You have never heard Yewata say he's the leader of the party in Jos or in Plateau State. Because the governor is there. But the case of Rivers is different because at the same time, President Tinubu don't want to rock the boat with Wike. And at the same time, you want to have the best of both worlds. And it now goes back to my analogy or my thesis that I first propounded, where I said that the reason why President Tinubu said he did the state of emergency to save Fubara was not because he loved Fubara so much, was so that he will have options. So as of today, President Tinubu has options. He can play any side he wants. He has, in part of the peace meeting now, he said they should hold on in the impeachment. And they should back off the impeachment. Fubara should accept that Wike is the master of both political parties in the state. Anyway, they have always told you in Rivers State and Akolabo, both APC and PDP and Akolabo. Why is he doing all of this? He's doing all of it for his own self. Let's see who's going to get hurt in the game. But one thing I know is that it's just like a betting game. Wike and Fubara are the ones playing the bets. President Tinubu is the house. You know what they say in the game of betting? The house always wins. He's the one winning. They are just knocking their heads on each other. What was the other story I couldn't know?
There's a Yewata, them being charged to court.
And
then
there was
also there was a story about the ADC.
The ADC.
Saying the policies of this administration.
The ADC, yes. You have said from today till infinity the policies are bad. We know. We know some of the policies. Like take for instance the argument the government made for fuel subsidy removal. It's not panning out today. Based on the argument they made, we were supposed to have enough money to be able to do more infrastructure. But Federation account, they said it was only 10 trillion that came to Federation account last year. We are carrying over budget cycle for 2-3 years. There's no spending on the people. I mean, we're talking about the case of how difficult it was to even get snake venom, anti-snake venom, and all that, other things. So there are many challenges. People are crying, people are hungry. But the question I would like to ask ADC is, what are their own solutions? You see, that's the problem I have with the opposition in this country. If you're also talking, it should not just be a case that those that they wanted power. It's just they are not talking because they want power. When they were in power, what did they do? That's the first question I want to ask to all of the top ADC people. Should be the likes of the ADC chairman now, David Mark, or Senate president for a couple of years. What did he do? What did they do when they had the power? So it's not just by saying, okay, things are bad. We know things are bad, though. We're able to state out the problems every day, and we prefer our own solution. What is their own solution? And how will they be different? Is it that when most of these people that they are talking to, when they were in power, they were never cases of corruption?
Okay.
Is it that when they served in their own government, they were never cases of nepotism?
Okay.
So what did they do? Let us also check their record based on what they are saying. Because you see, what will determine this Nigerian election will be the will of Nigerians, and Nigeria should open their eyes. That's why I keep begging. I hear they are collecting PVCs from people and they are giving them money in the name of party registration. Please do not sell your PVC to anybody. Shine your eye.
All right. Dr. Batim.
Okay, the most relevant story in the list will seem to be the situation in Anambra State, in my view. Now, last week we discussed the fact that the governor went to the market and said he was going to shut down the market for a week if the market continued to respond to the stay-at-home order by a factional section of the indigenous peoples of Biafra movement. And on that basis, he said the market will resume on Monday. If the market does not resume on Monday, which was yesterday, he also made it clear that he will shut down that market for another 2 weeks. And thereafter, he will decide what to do with that Onitsha main market, a market that the state government made clear belongs actually to the state government in terms of the allocation of space in that particular market. And what is the trigger for this? The sit-at-home order on Mondays, which the Commissioner of Information said was making, in terms of trade, in the Anambra to lose over 8 billion naira every Monday. Calculate that, 4 Mondays, 5 Mondays in a month, and that's a lot. And that in the whole of the Southeast, the Southeast loses about $19.1 billion every Monday. Now, Professor Soludo, being an economist, for the past 5 years has been saying that that is not sustainable and it has to stop. So the latest development that has now been reported seems to me to be a triumph for courageous leadership, for visionary leadership, for a leader saying that, look, no matter what it takes, we have to rescue the market in this environment. Onitsha main market is a major hub within the West African region. People go there from Ghana, from Cameroon, they buy wholesale. And now, Soludo, the economist, is saying, you are taking market prosperity away from Anambra State, and you have to bring it back. I think in the course of the conversation over the years, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has had to say he's not the one behind the sit-at-home on Mondays. That, is another faction of the movement, separatist movement, which many Igbos don't even agree with in any case. But Soludo was not talking about separatism. He was talking about business, about trade, and the disadvantage that this can bring to the whole of the Southeast, to the whole of Anambra, and the fact that business can shift and go to other locations. So that's why I think this is a triumph at a personal level for Governor Soludo. Now, the other thing is that it's also a kind of triumph for the Onitsha traders, particularly in the main market. Now, these are people who have been intimidated, blackmailed by a factional section of IPOB. And now, yesterday, they showed up at the Onitsha main market at 6 a.m. They watched the situation. By 12 noon, the whole market was bristling with activities. So the people eventually, after that initial resistance, supported their governor. There's a place in that Onitsha market called Emeka Ofo Plaza, which is the equivalent of the computer village in Lagos. It was bustling with activities. Everybody came out. With that confidence established by the government of the day, bus drivers, vehicle owners, civil servants, everybody came out. The whole of Anambra State was a lively space yesterday. So that's why I say this is about courage in terms of leadership. And we expect that, of course, this will go through the whole of the Southeast. The purpose of the government of Anambra is to stand up to criminal elements. And they have been able to do this successfully, to show zero tolerance for criminality and to show that economic activities are very important. However, you may raise the question and say that Governor Soludo is able to do this because he's not looking for any other term. He's in his second term in office. And that is why we have argued before now that perhaps, to give our governors and our political operatives more power, we should just have a single term tenure. Maybe 6 years, maybe 5 years, whatever. So that if you are appointed governor, you go in there and confidently, you don't have to worry about a second term. You do what you have to do from day one. Governor Soludo has succeeded in this particular regard because he's not looking for a second term. However, the issue about security, we understand also that yesterday security was provided by the state government. And then, of course, the traders were so happy. They were praising the governor. They changed their tune. And the governor himself went from shop to shop. I even heard that he bought a pair of underwears. I don't know.
I know he bought local fabric. I'm not sure.
He bought Ishagu. He bought local fabric.
Why is it?
But I read one report. They said he bought underwears.
He is entitled to that.
He will probably have donated it out. But the lesson of this is that, purposeful leadership can make a difference. And Soludo has shown this. Now, as for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that Wike is 001 in Rivers State. Well, Wike, Nyesom Wike, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, is not even a member of the All Progressives Congress. I think the sore point that I see here is that President Tinubu is throwing his own, major officers under the bus. To wit, President Yewata, Professor Netanwe Yitwada, who is the chairman of the party, who had said publicly, categorically, affirmatively, that the 001, the leader of the party in Rivers State, is the governor. Senator Ajibola Bashiru, who is the national secretary of the party, also said the same thing. So is there some dissonance between the president and his party? And why is Wike so special that the president will throw his own party under the bus to prioritize somebody who is, in the narrative, at best, a political contractor? So this raises very serious questions about internal democracy within the APC itself. And it says a lot also about the motive of the president in terms of how he's managing the Rivers State situation. As for Senator David Mark, chairman of the ADC, saying things about APC, criticizing the APC. Okay, some is to say, what do you expect him to say? He's a leader of the opposition, and the opposition in recent times, as we move towards the 2027 general elections, has been quite hypersensitive, hyperactive, hyperventilating in terms of the commentary about the ruling party. We say to both the ruling party and to the opposition parties to pay more attention to internal democracy, to their own processes, so that they don't have to go to the court and say, Supreme Court has said don't inquire into our own affairs, when they themselves are not managing their homes very well.
All right. Okay, so let me start with Wike and I'll end with Anambra State in a little time. But first of all, let me go back to the analogy of Jeshurun that Somna Sambo gave yesterday, along the lines of when you're amassing so much, after a while, it might just very well cause an implosion in the APC. And we're seeing that happen because when you set a precedent, moving away from the original party stance that the governor of the party is the leader of the party in the state, it would mean that other states who are now adopting governors into their party might then question or begin to move for that. For instance, we had looked at the issue of Kano State and who would emerge as the leader of the state, whether it's the governor or the former chairman of the immediate past chairman of the APC, who is also a former governor of the state, Ganduje. We've also looked at other states as well. We looked at Benue State as well. A few other states like that where there might be a part tussle to the existing chieftain of the APC in the party, and now with the defection of the governor of the state, who will be the party head. So what had happened with a clear statement around the governor being the head of the party or the leader of the party in that state made it quite easy to transition and to give an assurance to the governors that when they do move to the APC, at least their role is guaranteed. With this new introduction of the River State issue, well, other people can challenge that now, saying that, well, it happened in Rivers, it can happen now. Now, with regards to Wike being the special one, you can understand why. Dr. Batu, you keep on talking about how the three states that are important at the presidential level to win if you want to emerge president of Nigeria, namely Lagos, Rivers, and Kano State. Don't forget that at the time, then Governor Wike worked hard, assiduously, however which way he could, to ensure that the president won in that state, including sabotaging the efforts of his own candidate in the state. And that was the only state out of the three that the president actually won in terms of state-by-state allocation to emerge as president. So he is quite important to the political strategy of the president. And so you can look at it in that way. Even though the FCT minister
It's
has
important to political opportunism.
That's I said political strategy. Opportunism strategy. Well, that's the president's strategy. The president, in this instance, has sacrificed the interests of the Rivers people on the altar of politics. That's what we see playing out in Rivers State. But moving on to talking about with regards to Governor Wike's role and what would then happen. What we had thought was that throwing Fubara coming into the APC would put a little kink in that arrangement whereby he can emerge. But the question that's being asked is that why is Governor Fubara allowing himself to be bullied in this manner? What is the arrangement? From the very beginning that this issue has started, the question had been asked again and again, can the governor be governor indeed? He had at least the structures to a very large extent as governor of the state, and yet he allows himself again and again, whether through these peace that's being brokered between the president, between he and the and Wike through the president, to be bullied or sidestepped or sidelined, whereby all he has been doing since he emerged into office is just political survival, trying to fight for his political survival. And then you begin to ask that, did the people of Rivers State make the right decision? Because what you would want to see, even when they were standing behind him solidly, the elders, the women came out in their numbers to show support for him. He kept quiet. And even till now, he's still quiet. It's people that are speaking up for him. So perhaps that's what is really the issue, the main issue in the state, the fact that the governor has not taken his position and refused to be bullied by anybody and just take on his position as governor. But let me just touch on Anambra very quickly. The numbers have already been shared. Estimated by government sources, 8 billion naira every Monday that the sit-at-home has occurred. They say, the Igbo proverb says, when you wake up is your morning. And so the question I wanted to ask as well, and Dr. Bata has already referred to it, is that why now? 5 years afterwards, Governor Soludo spent 4 years in office. But as we said, as long as he has woken up, morning has begun. And so moving forward, it's a great show of solidarity and support to have him there marching, heightened security so that the traders feel safe enough. But it's beyond one day. It is throughout the week. It's not just at Onitsha market, but it's also for the traders who had to make their way home and ensure that there's no reprisal attack on them based on the fact that they've gone out to work. Many of them want to go back to the markets. They are losing a lot of money, enterprise opportunities by the sit-at-home order. So it's great that the governor is now coming with political will and providing the security, required for them to go back confidently to the market. But it's important to sustain it and then even begin to see how we can maximize the opportunity of what has been touted as perhaps even that region as a Taiwan of the African continent. So much potential yet not been utilized in the last few years. Finally, it's not just the market traders who have been giving the ultimatum. Even civil servants in the state. There's a no work, no policy introduced, such as to encourage civil servants to come back into work, whereby their salary is prorated and if they sit at home on Mondays, they would not be paid for that day. So the government is making the moves to ensure that economic activity returns to the state on Mondays and we can finally see opportunities maximized in the state. Hopefully we'll talk about this in more detail in the course of today's show, today's show, even furthermore, it's an ongoing conversation.